Let me say some introductory words about our panel today. I'm particularly pleased to moderate a panel with a great lineup of speakers today. As you may see from the introduction, we would like to discuss with you, to present, and also to have an open conversation on how the drastic changes that are happening are impacting the way in which we design, particularly. So our panelists today come from different backgrounds that touch design disciplines in different, multiple ways. We are in a phase of huge transformation. Sustainability and a transition to the circular economy is offering us unprecedented opportunities and at the same time also challenges, of course. Our lineup of speakers will cover lifestyle, design approaches, architecture, and more broadly, how design is a tool for bettering the life of people. I will introduce briefly our speakers. Particularly happy to introduce you Luca Di Cesare, next to me, who is a designer, a semiologist, a musician, and he's established in Shanghai, China, where he founded OPSI Studios in 2001, after having operated in the creative industries at large, having had the opportunity to work with important brands, of which I can just name Adidas, Max Mara, Armani, and many others. The work of Luca as a designer semiologist, in my view, is very much related to how different disciplines can converge in the creation of atmospheres, in the creation of storytelling, which contribute to create spaces where users can enjoy retail experiences. And we will see from his selection of works how he's contributing to the lifestyle in Shanghai and more broadly in his portfolio of works. Thanks to his broad experience as a practitioner, as a professional, he has also had the chance to contribute to educational environments by working on thematic workshops in fashion and design, educational institutions. So I think that we can say that he operates at the intersection of practice and education. So thank you very much, Luca, for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. Hello, everybody.
Next to Luca, we have Giancarlo Di Marco. Giancarlo is a colleague at Xi'an Jiaotong, Liverpool University. He's a building engineering. He's a designer and architect born and trained in Italy, where he established his own practice that he was carrying on for a number of years, also delivering vocational educational services in collaboration with Italian industries and industrial associations. So he was already in education before making a very important move for his career as an academician, moving to Mexico, very, very far away country, where I think he's had an opportunity to really embrace the challenges of higher education. And now this experience is brought back to China as senior associate professor in the Department of Architecture at Xi'an Jiaotong, Liverpool University. His personal interest and expertise revolve very much in digital and fabrication design, and therefore I think he will bring to the panel a point of view of design methodologies and how they are contributing also to the transformation of the manufacturing ecosystem. And I think that this is particularly of value to what we are about to discuss today. So thank you very much for being with us, Giancarlo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me say a few words about Darcy Chang, who is trained as well as an architect and urban designer, trained before in Taiwan, before moving to the US, where I think he got his terminal degree at Southern California Institute of Architecture. So his broad international experience would be very, very valuable for what we are about to discuss today. Before establishing his own architecture office, Beehive, he had the opportunity to work in some very, very important architecture offices, including Morphosis, Studio Fuxas, and BBJ and Crocs. And I think it is like spanning 10 years of training as a junior and then senior architect before establishing Beehive. In my view, Darcy is very much interested in developing a new form of creating experiences in architectural spaces, and also probably has to develop strategic design, combining it to the achievement of spaces that deal with the built environment and natural environment. There will be an opportunity to discuss about these across his portfolio of works that he will show with us in a few minutes. So thank you very much, Darcy, to be with us today.
Very thank you for your introduction, Massimo. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Last but not least, in the presentation, let me introduce Xi'an Jiaotong, who is currently Director of Sustainability, Environmental Health and Safety at Bosch, the German company, who, like I am very much shy to say that, because Bosch has been the first company to become carbon neutral already in 2020. So the achievements of this multi-industry company are very much interesting to the topic today, and more broadly for the advancement of sustainability and transition to the circular economy. She has been working with Bosch for over 16 years, being responsible for China, Korea, and Asia on strategy, targets, and standards setting. Before, she was working as head strategies in a semiconductor company, and she's now also vice chair of a corporate social responsibility for the EU Chamber of Commerce. So another important contribution that we expect from Xi'an, that we thank for being with us today. Thank you, Xi'an.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so how the panel will work, we will give our speakers the possibility to introduce themselves with a selection of their works that they decided to share with you today, before then going more in detail to some of the aspects which are pivotal in the transition of design to sustainability and the circular economy, and therefore there will be a round of questions after the presentations. Where should I? Okay. Oh, sorry. Too many. Okay, our panelists and our first Luca. Please.
All right. Thank you very much again, everybody, for coming. I'll try to be short and relevant in my speaking. Here we have a few selection of work that actually emphasize a few critical pain points for the retail market. I will focus on the retail design today. Is a lot, or at least a series of critical pain points, because of course the retail is the last part of a vertical system of all the companies and brands that manage their business, and they're of course in the retail under pressure for sales, and they are under pressure from customers who are actually requiring several things that are sometimes in contradiction between them. When we talk about retail and sustainability, well, first of all, we have, of course, always to try to be broad mind. So when we talk about sustainability, especially, or let's say for what is my experience in retail, we need to consider both the economic, social, and environmental sustainability. We focus most of the time only on the environmental one, so I will focus on that. And for retail, the most easy thing we may think about is the selection of specific materials. So the attention to recycled, reclaimed, or natural material, preferably sourced locally. That is somehow the very first small contribution that design of retail spaces may offer. Of course, that depends a lot on the ethical approach of the company, of the brand. Most of the time, they are very receptive, very open-minded to the first few proposals. And as the weeks pass by, we arrive to the end, talking with the landlords, talking with shopping mall, problem with fire regulation, problem with budget, problem with timing. Most of the time, all the materials are just replaced. So there is actually not much evolution project by project. So sometimes we try actually to focus more on economic or social sustainability, trying to offer a specific space of experience that try to be more inclusive and try to be more respectful of the people working inside. But for the material, we saw the couple of first picture. We succeeded with a couple of brands to use like recycled composite fiber concrete in several applications, both on walls and floors. Here we see Skechers, American brand, with a certain power of decision for the Chinese market, being a joint venture with decision power. So also here we went quite strongly, as you saw in the mood board before, to try to push the brand because it's part of their ethical approach. It's part of the brand founding values, the idea of being family friendly, the idea of being accessible, the idea of being the brand that offer comfort for all, as they say in the slogan. So we try to push the brand to accept that idea of comfort in a more wide way, and we convince them to use like recycled cork. This is a different case. It's not anymore about the selection of material, but about another aspect that is quite interesting. That is the ability, or at least the sensibility to think about the repurposing of FF&E. So here, all the furniture that we've been designing have been designed with a specific idea of being 95% recycled and moved to third, fourth tier cities. So the brand will reuse in second level shop, and they will have a third cycle to enlarge lifespan. They will use in outlet. So basically, what is originally thought to be like a 2 years lifespan furniture and fixture system, it will go on for 8 years. It's not circular economy, but somehow there is a repurposing idea that helps quite much to save all the dismantling and all the trashing part. This is also, once again, it is in Tokyo, a project we did in Tokyo for Adidas. And here the good thing was, even we were far away and in COVID period, so quite difficult to travel and to control everything. But finally we succeed to have all the reclaimed woods sourced and processed locally. So the whole interior of the third and fourth floor has been decorated with local reclaimed wood. So I would say these are a few examples of how a small intervention, we can at least begin to do this small intervention, try to push the brand to be more attentive. Also because, again, they have anyway push, especially in the first tier city with more advanced audiences, they have some push for a more ethical approach.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Luca, for having shared in such a concise way, some of the challenges that you are already tackling in your professional experience. I think that Giancarlo, who is coming next, will instead show us his own background, and probably through his own background we will understand how new forms of design methodologies can help us in forecasting new ways also to design space and buildings. So, yes, stage
Yes.
to you.
Okay. I'm going to be a little creative here because I can see the back like this. So, yeah, so I'm Giancarlo. I'm an Italian designer, as Massimo was saying. My background is quite diverse, as it's commonly said. I'm had the opportunity to be in practice in several different industries. So industrial design, product design, architecture, engineering, etc. So a kind of broad experience in this. The common thing that I had the chance to develop over the years is basically the use of digital design. So unfortunately, as you can tell by my silver hair, I've been around quite a long time, and I was here already when digital technology and especially software started to grow and started to also, unfortunately, substitute also the whole process of design. So yeah, basically, the first examples that are here in my slides, that is basically, no, the next one, directly, Massimo, yeah. So this one, for example, this is one small example of a product, a very simple product. But the reason why this slide is here is for the upper left corner. So basically, I am into digital design like since the 90s, and I still strongly believe that the phase of conceptualization must be done as far as possible from any digital device. And so you will find sketches and also maybe technical drawings, but my recommendation also to all my students is this one. So don't use digital technology in the conceptualization phase. Then, yes, of course, it becomes a tool, and any other tool it has its pros and cons. I find many pros in the actual digital technologies. Basically, thinking about digital design today, it has become quite complicated. Once, let's say, the technology was a response to some needs. Today, technology is advancing quite fast, so it is not only an answer to questions, it becomes a question generator also for the productive environment. So it needs many more skills to be implanted also in production, not only in the design phase. Here we are seeing a collection of simple vases, right? But the thing is that these vases, these are only 4 examples, but actually the whole collection contains something like 35 or maybe 40, something like that. And the interesting thing is that there is no differentiation in design. This is just one single script that is actually capable of generating basically all the shapes that you are seeing here and like 30-ish more than this. And all of them respond to some prerequisites, which are basically also feasibility. So it's not design like for design's sake. It has also the possibility to be responsive to practical needs. And yeah, this is a little more complicated. We are also here in digital fabrication. Basically what you see here, these are 2 examples of machined surfaces. These are 2 pieces of furniture in marble. They are made in Ireland, which is also another thing because I was working in Mexico and the client was in Ireland, so it's also very interesting. Once you know the technology, and once you know the technology that the client is going to use, you can also, expand your possibilities and include that type of technology in your design process. So digital fabrication has become quite of the essence today. Machines, as also in the previous discussion, the previous panel, it was pointed out as machines have become like also mandatory, maybe. Robotics, collaborative robotics, etc., they are becoming more and more important today. This is actually an example instead of, let's call it, I don't like the word advanced, but this is basically a structural optimization for a product. This is a helmet for virtual reality, for, well, not exactly virtual reality, this is for facial motion capture that can be translated into something like in AR, etc. But this is just the optimization, the structural optimization, just to make this helmet lightweight. So, because it must be, it's a wearable, it must be comfortable, and therefore it must be lightweight. And then once you have the requisites from the client, you just go through the digital process. And structural optimization, which is something that reminds of buildings, in this case is applied to a helmet. Okay, so the type of technology that are embedded into digital design and digital fabrication, they don't belong to a particular industry. It's just like a method. And yeah, and this is also, this looks like furniture render, but actually the important part is maybe the upper right corner. Yeah, the upper right corner, which is soft body simulation. This is another part. So basically, it's a common belief that digital design and fabrication apply to rigid bodies and to rigid parts, but actually today, because of computational power evolution, also soft bodies and textiles can be digitally designed and simulated before production. So there is also other things that I would like to have shown, but unfortunately I cannot at the moment. And this comes finally the latest part of my development, which is basically in the architecture engineering industry and education. Now, this is a digital model of one big structure, which is Sport Palace in Mexico City. This has been the subject of a complex studio, and it is an example of how digital design and simulation can also give meaning to something that it's also very hard to capture sometimes. This work was based on a very small note by a famous architect, which was Felix Candela. He designed this building, but in one margin of one page of the project, he said something, this building could be done using also this technology, this technological approach, let's say so. And it was never demonstrated, and then this work actually was a digital demonstration that the building could, at least on computation, be built using this new approach, this different approach. And it has been published, and it is some kind of renowned work. And this is the last part of my presentation. This is the latest application and also my research field. I'm actually working in, of course, in digital design and fabrication, but applied to especially robotics, robotic 3D printing in particular. And also on the right side, you will see that there are some kind of layered structure. This is actually the core. This will be the core of my next 2 years of life. It's going to be high performance 3D printed concrete. So yeah, this is basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Giancarlo, even because your introduction to digital design and digital fabrication as tools for customizing objects, products, and spaces becomes very crucial to the way in which we evolve, the way in which we source, manufacture, operate, distribute, and I think it will be good to discuss this further in the panel. But before doing so, I'm happy to introduce and to give stage to Darcy that will present his own work as Beehive. Thank you, Darcy.
Yeah, thank you, Massimo. So my background is architect. I studied in Taiwan and US, and I had the experience living in Italy and working in Italy for 7 years. So it makes me feel I'm part of the Italy family. So even though I can speak only a few words of Italian, so, and yeah. Oh, it's so quick. Can we go back to the first one?
It's the first.
Oh, this is the first. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, our talk today is quite diversity. So yeah, because my background is very architecture. So my presentation would be very project oriented. So I will try to limit it in 5 minutes. So yeah, the first project is called Artur S Hotel. It's very close to here actually, and the project commission is the client. They want to have a new generation of the hotel, and then actually they don't have a very clear project brief, and initially they had some project location candidates. So, and we visited many places, and then we talked to the clients. Okay, this is the place we think is the most appropriate for your new product. So yeah, actually the project on the left hand is the previous situation, and the right hand is the completed situation. So previously it was a apartment, the service apartment with outdoor space, but the outdoor space is quite wasted, and there's no people using there. And then the atrium, the facade is quite commercial. So, but the first time we went there, we feel really interested in this space because the atmosphere, how we feel there is a reminder of we live. When we travel in Europe, there's a memory I live in a monastery, so I had a very wonderful experience living there. So it reminds me the experience there. So actually the major transition is we renovate the whole exterior atrium and then make it becoming a semi interior space and introducing more multifunctional programming, integrating the hotel lobby, hotel reception area, and then in this hotel brand, there is an interesting program in that hotel. Is in their hotel there is always a library. So also the way how we transform this atrium is to integration of this library, also renovate the exterior facade, and then it's really make this atrium becoming a whole language of the space. And then so when you enter this hotel space, when you check in, when you stand in behind the reception area, and then you can feel that the kind of tremendous atrium space with the hospitality feeling and with the library atmosphere. So yeah, and then there's one job for us is also to strengthen the hotel's brand. So actually this hotel brand, Artur, their logo is big A, you know, a big A with a smile images. So also when we designing a series of space, when we organize the overall space, the people, how they feel. So when they enter the hotel frontage, also when they arrive, the hotel reception area on the third floor is a series of a reminder of strengthen the hotel brand images into your mind. So yeah, and the next one is a project in Chengdu. It's also a competition, invited a competition, and I went to Chengdu many times because I have a partner in Chengdu. So I always remember the first time I visited Chengdu, I saw many people, they like to chit-chat or doing something under the bamboo or trees, you know, playing mahjong or eating something. I think the people in Chengdu, they quite like this kind of the living habit. So actually the project site is really close to Boulevard. And there are like 25 buildings along the boulevard, and then we designing one of the restaurant. Next one. So actually, this restaurant is a hot pot restaurant, and so I always remember the first time I went to Chengdu. Those scenario I saw. The people who really loves to dining or praying under the tree or bamboo. So we are trying to creating or designing a building which makes the people really feel like when they having the hot pot, they are dining under the trees or bamboos. So next. Yeah. So. We are designing this challenge, also a structural system. It's a representation of also visually from inside to outside. Remember, I'm saying like imagine the people when they're dining under the trees, and then the structural system is mandatory, but it's also visually in the representation of from the interiors to exterior, so you can see through this. Transparent glass, you can see this kind of very dynamic 3D organic bin system, but which is made by timber, so it also makes you feel like you are under very man-made natural environment, but somehow it's also visually connect to the exterior natural environment. So I also put some construction images. So, yeah, the very last one is also a competition. Actually, 3 projects is all competition. We made successfully on the first and second, and the last one is data center. Is the company's called Neighbor is like a Baidu, the biggest web search engine company in Korea, and they are going to build almost the largest data center in Korea. So, and initially they are saying like building a 250,000 square meters data center, which is very big, and located in the mountain within the valley. So initially we trying to doing some research and trying to investigate what is the concept ideation. So we feel very interested in the World Heritage called Hahoe. So we trying to how to transform the configuration of World Heritage into a contemporary data center, also describing the idea how to balance the built environment and people and data itself. So yeah, it's my brief introduction, so hopefully it's not lasting too long. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Darcy. I think that particularly the hospitality projects will give us good opportunities to discuss about consumption approaches from the user perspective. There is a new audience maybe that is ready to undertake the challenges of finding spaces which are more driven by environmental design and a combination with the atmospheres that your projects very much and very well show. But before going to the questions, we have our last but not least speakers, Susan Zhou, that will introduce her work with Bosch. Thank you very much, Susan.
Yeah, hello everyone. Very glad to be here. So actually I was amazed by the diversity of the panelists here. So although we are from very different backgrounds and industries, but I think we have also common themes to discuss today, like the purpose is always to try to build a sustainable and better future. Yeah. So I will brief some of the sustainability highlights from Bosch. Hopefully we can just be open-minded and to exchange ideas, and then we can learn from each other. Yeah, so next, yeah, thank you. So I don't know whether you are all know Bosch. You all know Bosch. Yeah, Bosch is actually with a history of more than 130 years. It started from our founder, Mr. Robert Bosch, at the small metal workshop in Stuttgart. Also, is the founder, is invented at that time. And so far up to now, we are still a private company, although it's so big, a global company, but we are still private. And this is also the will of the founder, that to have the company to have financial independence, and we can always make decisions based on our long-term vision. So this is the will and also our vision. And behind the Bosch brand, invented for life is our motivation. And that is meaning we want to have our products be fascinating, improving the quality of people's life, but also help to preserve the natural resources. So with our wide range of products and solutions, we are supporting connected mobility, connected industry, smart home, and smart cities. Actually, there are also quite a lot of link with the architecture here, because it's all about the cities, the homes, and also for the connected industry and connected mobility, also linked to a lot of branding in Italy, like the automotive and other industries. Yeah, so from time to time, as a big corporate, we have to define our strategies for sustainability. So we look at the mega trends and the global challenges to see which are affecting our company. Then we made our strategic focus area. So the latest one we call the New Dimensions, Sustainability 2025. It has 6 fundamental dimensions, from climate action to water saving, to circular economy, to diversity, and human rights and health. So that basically it formulates the framework for our actions in years ahead. Yeah. And very proud to say, and also thanks for introduction, Bosch is the first industry enterprise already carbon neutral, operating carbon neutral in scope 1 and 2. That meaning at more than 400 locations worldwide, we are not leaving a single CO2 footprint from the scope 1 and 2. That is the direct emission from our combustion in our own premise, and also the indirect emissions from the energy we purchased. So those are the area. And entire program is recognized by SBTi to support the 1.5 degree pathway per Paris Agreement, and we are also externally audited by independent accounting firm. Moving forward, so we are tackling the scope 3 as well. So the scope 1, we are basically doing scope 1 and 2, we are basically doing by increasing energy efficiency, expanding renewable energies, increasing the purchasing of green electricity, and offsetting those unavoidable CO2 emissions by carbon credits project with highest quality. And this is our one step in our journey. So the next step, we are expanding climate action to the entire value chain. That is to look at the supply side, look at the logistic area, and look at our product use phase, the CO2 emission. Yeah. Besides climate, actually it's also connected to the climate. We are also doing circular economy. It's also talking about regeneration today. So in our industry, we're also doing the circular economy, that is, from whole life cycle of the products. We want to be more sustainable, to reuse, reduce, and recycle the material. So this is, So the next page is really talking about our product side. So from product side, it's also emit quite a lot of CO2 emissions. So we are actively shaping our business to the low carbon direction in all the business sectors. For example, this is in the mobility areas, using the Bosch's advantage of the high competence and high quality of the products. We are pursuing now the personalization, connectivity, electrification, and automation. So we are believing the future of electro mobility and investing in that. Investing in that, we also are believing the hydrogen in the future. So we are producing and developing hydrogen fuel cell modules in Bosch, also in China. So next step for the company is not only we want to be we want to use the hydrogen fuel, but also we want to be the one of the company producing that, particularly from green hydrogen. So thanks a lot. I think we have, very different business, but it's all connected, and sustainability really requires a synergy across all the functions and organizations, and we keep hope and work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan. Thank you very much. I think that before giving space also for the audience for making their own questions, I would like to try to, let's say, trigger some comments, some further comments from the panelists. To Luca in particular, I would like to ask him, we have seen your projects and how some aspects of sustainability can be addressed from the perspective of material choices, from the perspective of operational approaches to design. And I'm personally a believer of the motto, the next big thing will be made of a lot of small things. So I think that it's a very down-up, let's say, approach, very positive. Do you see chances in your work for consumers contributing to, this transformation? Do you see, for instance, your client being more attentive to regenerative approaches to consumption that somehow are driven by the audience more than just driven by the design, so that there is a kind of a push, a demand for more quality, for more regenerative approaches to design? Do you see it happening?
I see happen differently in different markets. When I say different markets, I mean different kind of product, different categories of product, and different geographic situation. From the side of the audience first, so consumers, what we see, talking about mega trends, like Susan was mentioning, there is like a confusion or contradictory vector already there, because consumer, especially in the most advanced market, they are actually pushing for a more attentive and eco-sustainable approach from the brand. They require more ethical approach. At the same time, let's say that the acceleration of our daily rhythm bring everybody to be less used to accept dissatisfaction. And one of the main dissatisfaction for consumer is arrive in the shop and listen to, I'm sorry, sold out. So these push brands to have overstocking, overproduction, which is a huge problem for the fashion industry. Having as a semiologist and not a real designer, having a very storytelling approach to concepts, together with our team, we always try to push the concept narrative for brand, for the retail space, into some direction that somehow can promote certain advanced behavior, or try to use the retail because that is one of the big advantages that retail may use. Try to use that space to promote an evolution of the habit of consumer. So we always try to put there, to inject in the project, in the concept narrative of the project, something that may trigger an evolution. Last case, like a few weeks ago, we were talking with the kidswear brand, and we were trying to push them since the kidswear market is somehow growing up, but at the same time declining because of the, obviously there is also in China now a problem of nativity. So the demographics suggest for all these brands to raise up the average age from like 3 to 8 years old to produce more for like 8 to 12 years old. So we were saying the fast growing of this kind of consumer and the very short lifespan of this product suggests to you to help or try to call consumer back to your shop. So you have the advantage of a additional visit of consumer. You may give like a discount on a return product and deliver this product wherever they are needed in whatever Gansu, Yunnan, Guizhou area. And it will be tough. It's a thing that we proposed just like a few weeks ago. We always try. It will be tough. Surely certain brand, if they have it already in their DNA, yes, we can see a certain attention to deliver a more sophisticated, more attentive approach, but it's not easy. Again, it always passes, as you were mentioning, from little step. I believe that will be the only way to grow up in this sense, because the big change, I think they're still too much under pressure in the market that is like geographically and in terms of number too much under pressure.
Thank you very much, and I think you are right. Storytelling, design narratives can be ways for nudging very much more than forcing big transformation and slowly having in the consumer more awareness. Also, probably different forms of manufacturing can help, and in fact, and this brings me to Giancarlo, that in the end, digital manufacturing, you were quoting before customization, right? From the need to produce for the big numbers in a very standardized way, now parametric design and digital design can offer opportunities to customize, mass customized products that could be one of the many different tools for providing a more open and a less consumptive approach to the production. I don't want to ask you about how it will reflect on fashion, because it is not your own field of expertise, but it definitely has to do with the building construction sector, for instance, and many other fields. What's your view on how digital design and customization can reduce consumption of energy, make much more, let's say, effective processes?
Okay, so let me surprise you a little. I have 15 years of experience in high-end jewelry design, which is not exactly fashion, but yeah, more or less. My point is that when you are talking about design, for example, be it fashion design, industrial design, product design, customization is a strong value. Because at a small scale, you can still think about also putting in place maybe a small or medium production line or something like that. So in that case, customization is of course a big value, and it has a lot of potential. And parametric design or computational design, as you mentioned, is probably one of the best options that designers have today to do this kind of customization. But when it comes to architecture, when it comes to the big scale, unfortunately, still today, standardization is probably the key word, because also themes like sustainability, etc., the more you deviate from standards, the more you are basically unsustainable, let's say so, because you have to put in place also different processes, and so there is another level of complexity for handling this kind of projects. It's also true that in architecture, when you use this kind of technologies, like for computational design or parametric design, they really help sustainability to become part of the process. Mostly because of the possibility that we have today, because of computational power, to run simulations which are predictive of how products or buildings can work during their lifespan. So if you can foresee how the product, be it at a small scale or large scale, is going to work during its life and operation, then you can also introduce sustainability concepts in the design process. Because usually sustainability is dealing very much with the afterlife of an object. So materials, reusable materials, etc., etc. But with computational design and parametric design, you can also introduce another concept, which is optimizing the use of materials, and maybe also conceive a way to take the materials that are in their afterlife and reuse them in a smart way for new products. So computational design is probably the connection, and it creates, it closes up the loop. So it's capable of foreseeing, but also reusing. So you can basically take advantage of this tool for
and in
this.
fact, we are like more familiar with the idea of creating circular loops also in the building industry, and to create like a circular design within the building industry itself. Pity that there is no more time, because I think that is a particular key subject. But I would like to go back to consumer behaves with Darcy, because I think that particularly in the hospitality project that you have shown, probably your approach is to nudge throughout the design of spaces a special approach, a special expectation approach in the relationship between space, the people, the nature, which can be one of the drivers for transforming habits. And if you think that the hospitality industry is one of the most wasteful in terms of food, for instance, because as it happens in fashion, also food is one of the most wasted goods that we are so embarrassed to consider. 30% of the general production of food is wasted because of operations, because of lack of consumption, because of leaks in the delivery and the operation. So how do you think that your design, let's say, approach can be a way, a tool for creating more sustainable behaviors in the client's expectation of, for instance, the hotel stay?
Yeah, thank you, Marciano. Yeah, I always remember 15 years ago when I started my career working in US. Usually when the client looking for us to do the project, the design brief is always very detailed. They detail every square meters for every spaces, and the target is quite clear. And when I start to working in China, and yeah, we feel there are a lot of the project coming to us. The client, they know what type of the building, what type of the space programming they want to create, but in the meanwhile, they usually don't list very detailed the square meters for each spaces, and so the target is still clear, but the room for designing actually is quite big. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but we see this as a big opportunity and challenge for us, because there are rooms, there are many ways to investigate or orient the project from many different opportunities. So And usually, the client looking for us to do the project. Usually, they are starting from a competition, and yeah. For example, the first project I presented, I think the client he invited 6 teams to do the competition, and we are the only architect team. The other 5 is interior designers. But the approaches we do is actually that there is no brief. There is no brief. He is just mentioning we are trying to do a new generation hotel product, and he showed us the previous hotel product to us. So we done a lot of homework research. What is the previous hotel store in that company? And then we trying to investigate in many different ways. So we present a PPT to the client, but I present it in many different ways. I also describing the many most impressive journey in Japan or Europe, and somehow also combining the design direction for their new product. But it's there's many ways to really approach or get a project from the client's attention and really assign you to as a finalist or winners. So what I mean is I think working in China, especially in architecture or interior project, many times the client, they don't have very detailed brief, but there's a room for you. But as for the issue of sustainability, I would say for me or for our studio, it's not a mathematical game. I know we also use some simulation tools, but somehow I feel the sustainability issue for us is more, you still need to make the space really make the people who really wants to stay there and really enjoy the space. And then when you designing the space, do you really imagine how you really feel the space you design? I think it's still the biggest consideration for us. It's not only we combine using some simulation tool, but we also simulate mentally in our mind. So I think it's a meaningful sustainability design for us. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think that like constraints are good. Lack of constraints is even more challenging if the client is not giving you like a proper perimeter within which you should direct your design efforts. So it becomes even more challenging, the responsibility for a designer to identify the key drivers of design that, from what you say, in your case at least, are very much driven by the user experience. So how you expect your user to benefit from that new experience in a hotel stay or in a restaurant, etc. What I would like to ask Susan to help us identifying relates very much to the very special condition of a big group as Bosch to operate at these multifold levels that I can imagine facilitate you cross-discipline loop of knowledge and also ability to predict major changes that are happen in different industries. So if I think to autonomous vehicles or electrical vehicles, which is already very much developed here in China, probably the next challenge will be to being able to create vehicles that are less related to a grid, so the off-grid that is happening also in architecture, where we contribute to the creation of energy, particularly now that our challenges of energy are becoming huge. Lately, we know that the general crisis across the globe on cost of energy is huge. Can you please help us understanding how the group that you are part of is contributing to this transversal, if you like, or transdisciplinary loop of knowledges between the different fields? Do you have a major research center where this knowledge is shared? How do you operate for designing for the future?
In Bosch, like you said, it's a big group, so have different disciplines. So it's always a challenge, actually, how we can align each other and understanding each other across those disciplines. But what do very well is Bosch a very centralized organization. So each discipline, we have a line to the central. And like for our business sustainability, we have our corporate sustainability department in Stuttgart. And they are already have extensive research and analysis together with different business units. Then together we defined our strategic targets, and which then later applied to those business units as top-down. So by this, our sustainability targets are deployed in the business process. That is kind of ensure the systematic management of those topics, yeah. So for example, if we are looking at a really ground example, we have done a lot photovoltaic installation, solar panel installation. I see this is something connected closely to the architecture. So by installing solar panels on the roof, that we can generate renewable energy by the owners and the users themselves. Then it's also depending on the volume, we can decrease the dependence on the energy market. So I think it's also the challenge for architects to really how to integrate those into the overall design, make it also as beautiful, as fashionable, but then it's also green building, right? So this we also is across discipline, and we also involve external partners together. So we do quite a lot roof solar panel in our plants. And all the buildings, we are also doing a lot for the, energy saving. Energy saving, I think it's also quite related to the architecture area. So construction area actually emit quite a lot CO2 as well in the big portion of CO2. So it's, I think it's also ultimate responsibility for the, and also the trending opportunity as well for the designer to think about those into the construction. So we do a lot of energy efficiency project, especially together with our industry process, like chillers, AHU. So you are all experts, much more expertise than me on this area. And also so different pumps, cooling waters, compressed air. So this is integrated in the construction and then also plays role in our industry process. So we are together with our facility engineers and our architect in the corporate. In the central, we have also our architect group together with our facility engineers and to deploy those energy efficiency measures across our plants. So we also apply the energy management platform. Actually, this is also a very good one, can be incorporated into the design of the architecture. So by the energy management platform, we can real-time monitor the consumption, the parameters, and then we can do the real-time adjusting. For example, if in this room, we have many people, then we can put more fresh air. But if we have less people, we can control automatically to less fresh air. By this adjustment, we can save a lot of energy. So this is something we are cooperating cross discipline. It works very well in a company, and this also brings to the big advantage to our carbon neutrality project.
Thank you very much, Susan. And I think that you have touched a very relevant point, which is that of integration. I think that if we are able to imagine, for instance, technology integration in building as wearables, we use wearables for discussing about how sensoring and advanced digital technologies can be embedded in our garments, right? In a way, solar panels could become the wearables of an architectural, like a construction. Well, instead, we are still seeing a disconnection in terms of full integration of technology and architectural space. So, thank you very much. Really, it was a great panel. Thank you for participating. Thank you.